literally just landed from Tokyo and was straight away taken to this hotel for this felicitation ceremony by the government and the Sports Authority of India. Extremely interesting and really so heartwarming to see so many of them so excited, thrilled about what they have achieved for themselves and for the country. Let's also say good evening to Moraad Ali Khan, CWG Gold Medalist and Arjuna awardee, joining me this evening. Moraad, so good to have you with us this evening. You know, I want to start off with something that Kiran Rijiju said, and I think words haven't been truer before, where he said that this time the entire country was literally watching, you know, event by event, minute by minute. People were waking up at 5 in the morning, gluing to the television screens at 4 in the evening to watch sports that they perhaps earlier have never seen. And that's perhaps been a big shift from how, as a country, we've seen Olympics so far.
You know, earlier what used to happen that in the rural cities, people were still watching and they were still seeing. But this time around, I happened to be at the farm in the village, and the people in the village were also glued to the TVs, and that was really encouraging for as a sports person. It was really encouraging because now the news has gone to the rural level, and people, especially if in certain sports like wrestling, hockey, boxing, they really follow these sports, and there's a big fan following for a lot of our sports persons in the rural area, which is a very positive shift because that's where most of our talent is coming out of. No matter what sport it is, they are coming out of at the rural level, and that's a very encouraging shift that I've seen now.
And what is aiding this change in trend, or rather a big trend that we are looking at right now? You are right, and it was mentioned even on the stage today that so many of our achievers, sports achievers today, are actually from far-flung rural areas with absolutely, no access to even technology to begin with. How is it that this trend is actually taking place?
You know, the access to news, the access to information now has gone to the rural level. Earlier, when we were in sports and we were representing the country, we were just outside Delhi. If you used to go outside Delhi, the mobiles used to stop working. If you used to go from one city to another, you had to change SIM cards. Today, you've got one India and one mobile. So the smartphones are now even at the village level. So the news is easily accessible. The communication has become very, very fast. So people, even if they don't have the TV sets, they watch on the phone screens. So the communication has become so good that the news now percolates to the lowest level at a very fast pace. So when Neeraj Chopra won the gold medal, within 10 minutes, the entire India knew about it. So the communication has become so good now at the rural level also that news just travels so fast, and the awareness has come in because people are now aware that yes, something like this has happened, and when they see the celebrations, then they start even finding out why these celebrations, and you know that when the question mark comes even when the kids ask these questions, then they learn more about sports, and that encourages them to get into something where they can achieve that kind of stardom. When they see that people in their own area or in the rural area are getting that kind of stardom, that encourages them to get into something by which they will be able to achieve that kind of stardom in future, which their own colleagues or their relatives or their near and dear ones or someone they know in the neighboring village has achieved.
Absolutely. One last thing, Moraad, before I let you go, is what next from here on? And, I want to emphasize on the fact that since we've got the nation's attention, since we've got the attention of every corporate, every institution, every state government and the center, how do we cash in on this and ensure that, from here on we prepare on a larger scale for what happens 3 years from now for the next Olympics?
I think apart from what the Sports Authority and the Ministry of Sports is doing for the sports person, it is very important for more and more corporates to get into sports. There is a lot of money required. If you calculate the average cost of getting an Olympic medal is close to about 5 crores. That is the cost which is spent on training, on diet, on support staff, on mental training, everything. If you combine everything, that is the kind of cost that we have to incur to get an Olympic medal. And then also because of the kind of competition that is in the world, there is no guarantee that you will win. You can be among the top, but that day has to be yours. It's not necessary that even if you are at the top, you will win every competition. Any sports person, for that matter, goes and competes in X number of competitions, out of which he performs his best to in certain number and wins the competition. So that risk has always to be taken. But it's not necessary that every sports person in which the corporates invest will actually be a hero. But yes, he'll reach certain stage, definitely. Maybe at Asian Games, maybe at Commonwealth Games, maybe at the World Championship, World Cup, or the Olympics. So the money has to come in. The money has to be come in and used in a proper way. It has to be a scientific planning of the entire process, because it's not, you just don't need money. With money, you need expertise of how to use that money. And that expertise can come with the experience of the people who have already been in sports. You don't have to get anybody from outside for that. We have enough people available who are capable of guiding anybody on how to utilize that money for the best benefit of the country, and where the country can hope to get future medals.
Oh, yes, absolutely. In fact, what you said, the money needs to be used rightly in the most appropriate manner, and it needs to be a long-term plan. I know anybody who gets into it cannot go into it with thinking, okay, I'm going to do this for 1 year or 2 years and get out. For any massive change to take place, in a tectonic shift to be, it has to be a long-term, large-scale investment that multiple entities do, Moraad.
Yeah, I would like to add here, one of the most difficult things, it's very easily said and done, is to change the mindset. Mindset means to get into in a mind, to make a mind think that he is the champion. That is a very long process. A person can be technically at the top of his game, but mentally he has to be also at top of the game. And to achieve that mental toughness and be at top of the game mentally, sometimes can take 2, 3, 4 years, and sometimes it cannot. Even after that kind of time consumed to get your mental frame right, sometimes you don't achieve it. And sometimes even after achieving it, you lose it. And there has to be a constant reminder that yes, you are a champion, you will stay the champion. And then that feeling, that thought process to make one a champion mentally has to come in. And that's a very, very long process. Physically, you can make still somebody look like a champion, but mentally for him to start thinking like a champion, sometimes takes a very long time. And it's a long process, it's a slow process. We have to be patient about it and start guiding our athletes towards it.
Long, slow process which needs a lot of patience, a lot of support, a lot of money, and of course a lot of our love and respect, appreciation that doesn't come and go simply around the time that medals come, but actually lasts through the season, through the years, from tournament to tournament. Thank you so much, Moraad Ali Khan, for joining me on this conversation. Completely out of time. We're going to take a very short break. On the other side, we put the spotlight on the national capital and that very, very provocative sloganeering that took place at one of the rallies yesterday in the national capital. We'll talk more about that. Stay with me.